Hi folks, this is All the Fruit. I'm on the beautiful island of La Gomera. And what is so typical about La Gomera? Well, not only the incredibly beautiful countryside, but La Gomera is also home to more than half of the world's native Canary Date Palm populations. And since I am here in La Gomera, I have done a couple videos about Canary Date Palms already. If you look at those Canary Date Palms, this looks basically like a Sahara oasis. Here we have orchards with vegetable gardens in between, and above everything the Canary Date Palms. Here in Valle Gran Rey, there are over 1,000 of them, I guess. And there are other valleys on the island with a lot more. It's rumored that the whole island has over 100,000 wild Canary Date Palms. That's more than the rest of the world combined. Well, there are a lot of threats to those Canary Date Palms. If you look over there in the distance, there was a fire. And yeah, the trees were hurt a lot, but they are recovering. And this fire burnt only a small part of the island, but 8 years ago, about, I think, 1/10 or was it 1/4 of the island was burnt, including all this area here. All those villages, the people were evacuated and a couple houses survived. And as you can see now, all the palms are charred by fire. Most of them charred by this fire about 8 years ago. But think about it. Why do those people tolerate so many date palms here? I mean, date palms suck a lot of water. Date palms provide shade. And here we are not in the Sahara. All those bananas and vegetables and avocados and other trees, they don't need the shade. In the Sahara, date palms provide important shade for the oasis, orchards and veggie gardens, but here they are not needed for that. Also, the fruit of the Canary Date Palms are really nothing special. Here in Valle Gran Rey we have a lot of hybrids with African date palms, so they are edible, but nothing people would grow. And if you look at this particularly tall palm here, you can see at least two different things which are quite unusual. First, this palm has a metal collar. What is this metal collar good for? Well, it prevents the rats from climbing the palm. Why are the rats not supposed to climb a palm which doesn't even have edible fruit? And also look at all those notches cut into this palm, which is maybe 16-17 meters tall. What are those notches for? Well, for the people to climb the palm. Look, some of the other palms also have notches, and in a lot of those palms, those notches have burnt into the palm woody inside during the last fire. So why do they want to prevent the rats to climb the palm trees? And why do the people climb the palm trees if they are not even edible dates to harvest? Well, if we go a little bit further down, we can see another interesting and unusual thing. Let's look at a couple of the lower, shorter trees. Yeah, amazing countryside. It's incredible. Like 8 years ago, all this was destroyed by fire. Well, I guess they saved some of the houses, but all the orchards were burnt by fire, and I'm sure also some of the houses. And now everything has recovered. I was here right after the fire, a couple months after the fire, and it was crazy. Well, if you look at those palms, some of them the leaves are also strange. You have a lot of old leaves and some new leaves, but there is like a kind of a gap between the old and the new leaves. Down here, it's even better visible. Oh, by the way, people are tending to the palms. Look at that. They are cutting off their leaves. So when there is another fire here which burns the giant trees in the valley, we are now in the first days of March after a rainy winter, but you can imagine in summer all this stuff is pretty dry, and oh, here there's already a lot of accumulated stuff which, well, a fire through this giant tree would be devastating, but they cut down the giant tree. And also they cut the leaves of the palms just to prevent the fire to spread. Yeah, it would probably still spread to the tops of the palms, but it would run out of burning material very soon. But that's not what I want to show you right now. Let's see, in those low palms, well, I cannot see anything except that they are pruning them too. But here, look at this palm, for example. Old leaves, young leaves. The young leaves are very fruiter, and in between there is a little gap. Here in this tree there is also a little gap. Well, the gap could also be due to the fact that we have the red palm weevil in the island. This is very sad. The Canary Date Palm is a favorite victim of the red palm weevil, and here we have the world's biggest wild populations of Canary Date Palms, and of course this is a feast literally for this bug. Let's go to this. Look, here again, a gap between the old and the young leaves, and here again and again and again. Well, let's go to this palm. Well, I think that the most important thing is not on this side, but on the other side, which looks away from the road, unfortunately. But maybe you can see it a little bit. Well, look, there are some old leaves and some new leaves, but in between there is a gap. And also there is some blackish substance on some of the old leaves. Well, my zoom is very bad. I hope you can kind of see this blackish substance. So, what is this stuff good for? Why did those people reserve 100,000 date palms and didn't cut them down? Basically, the Spanish colonizers, they were very ruthless. They killed and enslaved the local people. They cut down the forest, but they left the palms. Why? Well, because the Spanish colonizers captured slaves in Africa, and those slaves told them, well, the dates are not the only interesting thing about the date palm. You can actually get palm honey from them. Well, those slaves were Muslims, but of course the Christian captors soon found out that this palm honey can be made into wine and brandy. And actually I made a video about the cave bar where they used to serve and probably also distill types of palm alcohol. And yeah, what do you do? How do you get this palm alcohol? Well, I think this is only done on the island of La Gomera. The other islands don't have enough palms left, but on the island of La Gomera there are still enough palms, so people still do it on quite a significant scale. They would climb the tree, they would cut a hole into the butt. All the structure on top is one giant butt, and then from this hole the palm sap or palm juice would flow out, usually during the night. Usually if you cut this hole in the evening, during the night you can get like a couple liters, up to 20 liters of this palm sap per night. And then in the morning the wound closes again. And then in the morning you can go there, collect a bucket full of palm sap, then you can put it over a low fire and basically concentrate it down to a syrup, which is being sold as palm honey. Actually, a couple years ago a law got passed that you cannot call it palm honey anymore because no bees are involved. I would like to show you some guy doing this, but I haven't seen them this year yet. I mean, it's not being done every day. You can do it for a couple weeks and then the palm tree is exhausted. You can see it didn't form leaves for some time. And then you have to leave it alone for I think a year or two before you can harvest stuff from it again. Yeah, so I guess they cut this hole into the palm tree on the other side, so I cannot show you the hole itself. And of course, the most unpleasant thing that can happen to you is you go up in the morning to collect a big bucket full of fresh palm juice, palm sap, and there is a dead rat swimming in there. And that's why they used to put the collars on the trees. I think they are not putting so many of them anymore. Maybe they are using poison nowadays, but the iron collars are a traditional way because the rat can claw up its way a vertical palm trunk, but it cannot pass over metal foil. So folks, this is actually the reason why the Canary Date Palm has survived in such significant numbers. This was the most important alcohol on La Gomera actually. Travelers complained that every house here is a palm sap bar, a palm wine bar, that the palm wine or guarapo tastes horrible, and then people behave horrible after consuming it. Yeah, but at least that's why you still have all those settlements, all those houses, farms, villages surrounded by thousands and thousands of date palms. They got preserved not out of love for their sheer beauty and not out of love for their sweet fruit, which they don't have, but out of love for the sweet palm juice. I hope one day I will be able to show you how it's being harvested, but as I said, it's not happening all the time. I showed you at least the traces of the harvest. Here you can see again old leaves, young leaves, and kind of a gap in between. So folks, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful island of La Gomera. And don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.